Have you heard the story about the Woolly West? When it was the really wild and woolly West. Long before they had 2 branches and the cowboy took his chances, way out in the wild and woolly West. They were men out in the wild and woolly West. They wore their whiskers on their chin and chest. Mother Nature was their tutor, their best friend, the big 6-shooter, way out in the wild and woolly West.
No, Bedelia, I gotta go and see these folks. You stay here. No, you stay there. I know that and you know that, but the folks out there don't know that. Well, howdy, partners. Welcome to Sagebrush Theater. This is your old sidekick Washboard welcoming you to another Wild West extravaganza. And we got a movie for you today. It stars the original singing cowboy, the often imitated but never duplicated Gene Autry. Also on hand in this really big show, by the way, that's the title of it, The Big Show. Also on hand is his faithful sidekick, the one and only Smiley Burnett, my personal favorite. Now, you know, Smiley Burnett could talk just like a real fella like you or me, but he had this trick voice, which could make his voice go down real low. That gave him his most famous on-screen character name of Frog Milhouse. Now, Frog Milhouse, as a sidekick, was honest and brave and loyal, and he had a heart as big as the western prairies. But he also had a brain so small you could put it into a peanut shell and it wouldn't rattle. Also in today's movie, The Big Show, are a couple of other sidekicks and smaller supporting parts. There's William Newell, who was known as a sidekick in the Republic movie action serials of the 30s and 40s. He always played the sort of a funny guy who was real nervous. And then there's Max Terhune, who has the singular distinction of being the only sidekick to appear in The Three Musketeers. That's the movie series, not the candy bar. The other distinction of Max Terhune is that he had himself a sidekick, a little wooden feller, a dummy named Elmer. Yeah, that's something you don't see every day in the Old West, a ventriloquist. Well, by the way, today's movie, The Big Show, was shot in 1937 when Republic Pictures decided to go down to Dallas because Texas was having its 100-year anniversary, which they call the centennial, because that's what you call a 100-year anniversary. The rides and the games and the background you see in the movie are all real. And also real is a young feller who was singing with Bob Nolan and the Sons of the Pioneers. Well, this young pup went by the name of Leonard Sly. Never heard of him? Well, Leonard Sly changed his name to Dick Weston. Still never heard of him? Well, he changed his name to Roy Rogers. He got himself his own Western Cowboy series, and he got himself a horse named Trigger, and he got himself a bride named Dale Evans, and the rest is history. Yeah, Bedelia, I know, it's time to mosey. It's about time to start our big show called The Big Show. So let's get ready for some real Western excitement. All right, roll 'em, Luke.
Hello, operator.
Way out in the wild and woolly West.
This movie sure has got everything. It's got a movie company and songs and gangsters and songs and love interest and songs and double identities and songs and chases and songs and music, too. Did you notice that this here is a musical? Well, you know, Gene Autry was the first of the popular singing cowboys. He got himself discovered by another famous Western entertainer. Gene was working as a telegraph operator in Oklahoma when this famous Western entertainer discovered him and told him to go off and get a career as a singing cowboy. Now, this Western entertainer was not a singer himself. Well, who was it? That's today's brain snapper, kids. Who was the famous Western entertainer that discovered Gene Autry? You know, Gene Autry was a popular Western star in the 30s and in the 40s. And when TV came in the 50s, he stopped making movies and started producing Western TV shows. One of the Western TV shows he produced starred his own smart horse, Champion, as a Western TV hero. Now, Champion couldn't do what all the other Western TV heroes could do, which was quick draw a gun real fast. However, he could do something that none of those others could do. He could run faster and farther and not get as lathered up about it. Well, enough palavering for right now. Let's get back to the high-tension excitement of the big show.
Three men carrying a brown satchel. It contains stolen money. Two of the men are wearing dark suits, the other a gray suit. They are desperate.
The Marlin Woolly way.
Well, can you figure out what's happening in today's movie, The Big Show? How about those gangsters? Say, and Gene Autry's playing two parts. Which one of them is the star? And have you picked out Leonard Sly yet? Say, you know, Gene Autry in this movie plays a stuntman, but in some of the fight scenes, a stuntman plays Gene. You know that cowboy heroes always had real distinctive hats. That's because in the long shots, when the stuntman takes over, you put the hat on him, and everybody thinks that's Cowboy Star. Well, also the hats sometimes helped obscure their faces. And besides, did you ever notice that cowboy heroes very seldom lost their hats in fights? That's because they had a little piece of elastic that went under their chin to keep their hats on. Nothing more embarrassing than losing your hat in a fight and then try to cut two pieces of film together and make it work. Say, have you figured out our brain snapper yet? Our real trivial question? Who was the famous Western entertainer that discovered Gene Autry? Well, I'll give you just a little mighty hint on that. This Western entertainer was known for his rope tricks. And even more important than that, he was known for just standing on stage and just talking. That's right, just talking like I'm doing here right now, only he got paid for it. Yeah, Bedelia, I know. It's time to pack this up and get back to our action-packed feature starring Gene Autry and my personal favorite sidekick, Smiley Burnett, The Big Show.
When I'm so mad about you, what a chance I'm taking. It must be love that's making me mad about you.
Today's movie sure had everything, including two Gene Autrys for the price of one. You know, Gene always, and I mean always, played a real clean-cut, straight shooter in his pictures. And today's movie where he gets to play that other guy, that actor Tom Ford, well, this is as close as Gene ever got to playing a real nasty varmint in the movies, and I thought he did a real good job of it, too. Oh, by the way, this is also one of the few movies where Gene gets to kiss the girl instead of kissing his horse. Oh, and speaking of horses, you remember that real sentimental scene where Gene is going to put his horse Champion out of his misery, but he sings to him first? That's Bedelia's favorite part. Quiet down, you ornery mule. I'm a-getting to it. Oh, by the way, that question we asked you earlier about who was the famous Western entertainer that discovered Gene Autry, well, that was none other than the famous Will Rogers. Yeah, I know that some of you younger whippersnappers out there, you're saying, who? Well, Will Rogers was a famous Oklahoma cowboy who was famous on stage, made motion pictures, and also he was the man who said the famous line, I never met a feller I didn't like. Or I never liked a feller I didn't meet. Or well, never mind. Those are words to live by, young'uns. Yeah, I know. I'm putting the last nail in the coffin now, Bedelia. I'll be right with you. Well, that's all for our Sagebrush Theater for this week, gang. Until next time, this is your old sidekick Washboard, reminding you to always... All right, quiet, I'm going. Well, adios, amigos. You gotta put your 2 cents in. No, you can't keep shut for just 1 minute.
Have you heard the story about the woolly West? When it was the really wild and woolly West. Long before they had 2 branches and the cowboy took his chances way out in the wild and woolly West.